So let's go over Kyle Kulinski's Twitter meltdown. He came completely unglued yesterday when pressed with the obvious binary choice of Biden or Trump. And he, fought to the grave, died on the hill that he will not vote for either one. And he finds it morally repellent to vote for Joe Biden. And he's far beyond the pale. Let me tell you one thing. If you're in the camp where you think Joe Biden is far beyond the pale, you are never going to win in this game we call politics. You are never going to have power and control in important parts of government. So we're going to look at one of his videos as to what he talks about in terms of purity tests, and I'm going to show little clips of it, and then I'm going to come back and tell you why this is just, it's so childish. The way he thinks about this is extremely childish. You don't get to opt out because you're still in America. You're still a citizen in this country. So if you don't vote, that just means that you didn't vote, but you don't get to opt out. You're still under the rule, the govern of whoever wins in their administration. That's how it goes. Adults realize that. Children don't. It's a very childish way of thinking about this. Let's go to his video and then I'll come back.
Now, am I saying that these are the things I believe in, and any politician I support needs to believe in every one of these things that I'm pushing for? No, because, you have to be somewhat realistic and interface and interact with the world as it exists, not as you want it to be.
There you have it right there. I mean, he even says you have to interface with the world as it is, not as you would want it to be. So as it is right now, you have two options: Biden or Trump. If you don't vote at all, you don't get to opt out because you're still living in this country, living under the administration of whoever wins. So you have to choose which one is the lesser of two evils. Otherwise, you can't complain. You then can't participate in politics at all. So he's saying if he never gets a candidate that he feels as strongly about as Bernie Sanders, he will never participate in a presidential election. That's what you're saying. So what if the country you live in, what if America never or doesn't anytime soon nominate an elected official, Democratic most likely in his case, that you align with enough to vote for? You're never going to vote. So then you will never have any kind of real impact in producing change, because that's what produces change. Voting is actually what produces the change of the people in office that then enact the policies that you want or move us closer to the policies that you want. And it's obviously clear in this instance that Joe Biden moves us closer to the policies that Kyle wants than Trump. And this is only an argument that you can have as well when you sit in a position of privilege like Kyle does. When you are in a position of privilege, when you make enough money and you have a big YouTube following and you're fine, or you have a good job and you pull in a lot of your high salary or whatnot, you could then be in a position where a Trump presidency isn't going to really impact you much. But there are millions of people in this country, people that he says that he wants to fight for on a daily basis, he says this, that he is not fighting for because he's not voting for the man, Biden, who will go to bat for those people over Trump. I mean, that's just how it is, plain and simple. What he wants to do is abstain, be childish, and say he doesn't have to make a choice. He gets to opt out. That's not the case. You don't get to opt out. Maybe the policies affect you less because you're in a position of privilege, but there are millions of people who are not in that position, who these policies that Trump put in place and will put in place if he gets reelected, and judges that he appointed all around the country, are going to affect those people. Okay? Especially if you have kids and they go to public school. And someone like Trump appoints Betsy DeVos. Let's go back to his clip and we'll piece together some more of this nonsense.
Because it's not on me, it's on him. I'm telling you exactly what would need to be done for me to support him, and he's not going to do it. And even for Biden, I made another exception, which I probably shouldn't do, but I did, which is, listen, if he were to pick Nina Turner or Bernie Sanders as VP, I'll vote for him. And that's even...
This is mind-numbingly dumb. So he's so childish. Not only does he not care about the people he claims to care about, the people who would be impacted more severely than him by a Trump presidency, he is so selfish and self-absorbed that he says Biden has to come get his vote. Just his. People like him. Biden doesn't have to do that at all. Politicians don't have to get any one individual's vote or even a small subgroup of people's votes. That's not how it works. Politicians have principles. They have values of their own. So if yours aren't 100% in lockstep agreement with theirs, they don't have to change theirs to come get your vote. Please. What you have to do is not be selfish and be more understanding of the people who are going to be more impacted by a Trump presidency. Listen, Trump is god awful. He's by far the worst president that this country has seen in maybe ever, definitely in modern times. His everything from his stupidity, his judges that he's appointed, his contempt for science, his illogical understanding of the world, his lies, his attacks on people, his childish demeanor, the way he's just pulled down the office into the depths of the sewers, his incoherent foreign policy, his tax plan, the fact that he's doing nothing in terms of climate change. I'm sure Kyle is big on climate change, right? The Green New Deal. Biden has already said that he will look at adopting parts of the Green New Deal. And he's damn sure more inclined to tackle the issue of climate change than Trump. So there you go. There's one of his issues. He needs one issue. That's one issue. There are plenty other, we know, but that's one. Let's go back to a video. We'll get a couple.
And convince me that you will win and fight for all of those things. If I wanted to be a prick, if I wanted to be unreasonable, I could say that. But I'm not unreasonable. Because I understand that, we have to function in the system that exists. So,
quote, we have to function in the system that exists. But that's not what he's doing. He's saying he doesn't want to function. He's opting out. He's not voting. He's not participating. This is what exists. Trump or Biden. And you are being unreasonable. When you think Joe Biden is far beyond the pale, you're being unreasonable. And that brand of progressivism will never win anything. If that is his brand of progressivism, it's never going to win. It's never going to win. Joe Biden is far beyond the pale, this man thinks. And he's telling us we have to function in the world that exists, but he is not functioning in the world that exists. He's refusing to do so.
For example, but my point is, if you should have your own set of policies that you care deeply about, and you should also, I think, have, if a politician convinces me they will fight for one or two of them and they mean it, then I'll probably support that politician. That's what I think is fair and reasonable and understandable. And I know some people will say I'm being too lenient, and some people will say I'm being too strict. But
you're not being too lenient. You're not being too strict. You're just being too childish and too disconcerted with the hardships of your fellow Americans, who will be a lot more negatively impacted by a Trump presidency. And not only that, with the country as a whole. Because if you don't think Trump is doing just harm that is going to take years and years, maybe a decade to heal, as the country as a whole, what he's doing, then you're just not paying close enough attention. And I do have policies and values that I align with certain politicians, whether I'd vote for them or not. But I also understand that I may be in a scenario where the politicians that I have to choose from, there's going to be one or the other that more closely aligns with my values and my policies. So that's the one I'm going to choose. Or there's going to be two politicians that maybe they don't align with my values at all. But then I can assess based on which one is going to do the least amount of harm to me, to my fellow Americans, to the world. And that is the one you choose. If your head's on straight and you're not acting like a child.